Deliver us out of them all. I can tell you, you're coming out of this. I can tell you that God is going to get you out of this stinking situation. I can tell you that he's going to pull you up out of this rut. I come to tell you he won't leave you the same way that he found you. I can tell you that his grace is sufficient, that he's be the glory and the lifter up of your head. I can tell you he's a very present help in the time of trouble. I can tell you he'll never leave you nor forsake you. I want to tell you that God won't abandon you in this. In fact, before you even went through it, he had already prayed for you. He said, I've already prayed. I prayed before the heartache. Before your heart was broken, I had already prayed for you. Before the man or the woman walked out on you, I had already prayed for you. Before you lost a loved one, I had already prayed for you. Before you lost your car and your house and your job, I had already prayed for you. Before people start talking about you, I had already prayed for you. He said, my prayer wasn't that you don't experience the hard time. You don't know what you have, whether it's genuine or not, except there come a fire in your life. We trying to avoid every fire, baby. I don't care. You can go to Asia, there'll be a fire for you. You can go to Africa, there'll be a fire for you. Because we cannot avoid the trial. We cannot avoid affliction. We cannot avoid hard times, because hard times make us. Hard times begin to refine us. He said, look, your faith has to be tried. It's got to be tested. You got to know whether what you have is authentic or not. You run around with something that's hollow, that's gold plated, and you don't know it because it never hit the fire. But if it can stand the fire, then you'll know that what you have is pure gold. You'll know that my character is like him. What God is working on in our life is our character. That's what he's working on, baby. He's trying to tweak some stuff, and he's fine-tuning some things. Some of our character is just jacked up. We're messed up. We trying to win the lost with nasty attitudes. The lost ain't attracted with that. They're not attracted to that. We're trying to reach the lost, and we don't even have love for our own family members. And then we want to reach and bypass our family members to get a hold of somebody else. Baby, love will start at home. You start loving those that's in your house. You start winning the weed that's growing up in your house. And so he's perfecting our character. James said, look, let patience have a perfect work. Let it have its perfect work, because while you're waiting on God, God is doing some things on the inside of you that there are some things you got to learn how to stand. You got to learn how to wait on some things. You got to get the ministry of shut mouth, where you just keep your big mouth closed, where you can see some things, but you learn not to say nothing. You got to be quiet enough to get some wisdom, that when you open your mouth, you'll open it up on time and in time. You got to study to be quiet, and you don't know yet, so you got to keep going through some fire till you learn that everything that you say and feel is not for you to say. It's a fool that utters his mind. Everything that he think he want to say, everything she feels, she want to utter it out of her mouth. The Bible said that's a fool that does that. But he said, when I get through with you, you're going to be slow to speak. We're going to be quick to hear. And so God ain't making no mistake. Somebody hollering, do you see me? Do you see me? Oh, he see us. He saw you before you went through it. You got to go through it. And that's what Apostle Paul was saying. He said, look, I'm not ignorant to what I got to walk through. We understand that sometimes God never tells us the process, because if he ever told us the process, we will be tipping out spiritually. We will run and go back into that hellhole and say, look, I'll just stay here. I'll just deal with it. I already know what I got to deal with here. Come on. We'll go back to raggedy. We'll go back to whatever we went out of, came out of, the struggle, the issue, whatever it is, because we don't know what's going to befall us. But what he said and what he's saying is devastating. It looks like it's worse than what I came out of. But here Paul began to tell his testimony. He said, look, I've witnessed, I've did what God have told me, and right now I don't know what's going to befall me except that bonds and affliction. Every city I go through, there's going to be some bonds and some affliction. There's going to be some struggles. There's going to be an issue. I'm going to deal with adversity everywhere I go. The Bible says if you faint in the day of adversity, it's because your strength is small. There's never an excuse for the children of God to throw in the towel. God never gives us a reason to give up. Doesn't matter how difficult it is. And I'm going to tell you, life can be hard. Life is ruthless. Life don't care about you that just got out of one thing and here is something else. Life doesn't care that your heart is still aching and you got to deal with this situation, deal with that. Life really don't care, but God does. And so here it is, Paul is saying, I still got to go through this. He said, and regardless of what I got to go through, he said, none of these things is finna move me. I won't be moved. I'm going to stay on my post. I'm going to still be